style, and they were dropping depth charges and trying to get the submarine. A little bit more on the Warriors. I'll just take it one step further. There wasn't a lot to do. You couldn't go on the beaches at night, as you say. There was patrols. They patrolled by horseback, the military, and but during the day you could. We would get over there. We didn't realize it, the significance at the time, but my friends and I, small kids, we would take croquet bags, they call them croquet bags, whatever, cloth bags, and we would go along the beach and pick up cork. And a lot of this cork was actually from either life preservers or from the small lifeboats. And we would put those in a bag and tie them, and we used them to actually to help us to swim out to the reef and get what we called crawfish at the time. As I say, we didn't realize the significance, but there was a lot of this going on, as Dick says, at that time. And at night, you didn't go out. The lights on the cars were just a little slit, and you had to have permission to drive around and so forth. Boca Raton Airfield opened up, and I was just a young kid, but I could remember the soldiers and the Navy and everything. And as it closed down in 44, 45, we were one of the fortunate ones to get one of the barracks to become our home.
On August 22nd, 1939, the name of the town was changed to Deerfield Beach in an attempt to attract tourists. Following World War II, the face of Deerfield Beach began to change. Tourism boosted South Florida's economy, and Deerfield Beach no longer had to rely on the agricultural market as a measure of its prosperity. As the economic base evolved from agriculture to tourism to commercial enterprises, local pioneer businesses had to adjust.
The next person we're going to speak with has had a family business in Deerfield Beach for some time. Seems like forever. This panelist is Dana Eller. Dana, how did your family's business grow and prosper?
Well, that's a good question. My great-grandfather, Hoyt Eller, came down from Alabama in 1926 as a carpenter to help build the Boca Raton Hotel. And after he built the hotel, he saved up his money, and he ended up leasing a gas station from J.B. Wilds. And in that gas station, which we had right on the corner of Dixie Highway and 2nd Street, close to where our factory is today, my great-grandfather, Marlin Eller, grew up and helped pump gas and tinkered, and eventually, as all the farms around here had agricultural equipment, such as weed cutters and tractors, we'd operate and help to service that equipment. And in 1928, when the hurricane came through, blew all the water out of Lake Okeechobee, and I think 2,000 people drowned, the U.S. government came down to Florida and started what we know as South Florida Water Management District and did all these canals and drainage works. And since we had a local machine shop at the time, we started servicing these pumps and equipment. And next thing you know, pumps became the large part of our business, large volume water pumps. And my father then went to school, came out of school, University of Florida, with an agricultural engineering degree. And at that point, the business was made up of two people, my grandfather Marlin Eller and my father David Eller. And they were still building water pumps at that time for all the local farms around the area. But as we know, as agricultural base shifted out of Florida, we had to look for other markets. And he put his thinking cap on and invented some new pumps. But we started going outside of the United States because we figured what we learned here in Florida from hurricanes and drainage and irrigation, we could go to teach other people in other parts of the world. So our business started really when my father got out of college then and took over the business from his father, Marlin Eller, and started producing large water pumps for Taiwan, Africa, and taking the technology we learned here in Florida from those floods and taught other people how to build water pumps. So we've been in this, I guess, city for a long time because of the community and the historical events that's happened here. That's pretty much built our business. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the flood in 1928, for instance, or the citizens at Deerfield Beach like J.B. Wilds that helped our family to learn these techniques and to service their equipment.
We have someone in the audience.
I wanted to talk about our family business, Deerfield Builder Supply. After the war was over, they decided to move to Fort Lauderdale, and my father took a job with in cost accounting with Wilbur Kretz. And not long after that, he discovered that there was an abandoned block manufacturing plant in Deerfield Beach, and he suggested that he take over this block plant and get it crank it up, literally, and get it going again. So from Fort Lauderdale, every day he would drive to Deerfield Beach, got the block plant going, made blocks, convinced them, Wilbur Kretz, that Deerfield could be a growing community and needed some building supplies. So he was allowed to sell used windows and doors and hardware, and then eventually moved into building materials, and it became Deerfield Builder Supply. Just today he was telling me that in the first year he had sales of $90,000 and profits of $13,000, and paid himself a salary of $45 a week, and that's what my mother, father, and my sister and I lived on, $45 a week, 1947.
The spirit of community runs deep in Deerfield Beach. Incredibly, of the 20 nationally recognized historic landmarks throughout all of Broward County, Deerfield enjoys a remarkable share, claiming home to 4 nationally registered historic properties: the J.D. and Alice Butler House, the Old Schoolhouse, Deerfield Elementary School, and the Seaboard Airline Railway Station.
A founding member of the Historical Society and the first official city historian was Emily Dietrich, wife of Edward Dietrich. Dana, please tell us about your mother.
My mother was a Florida girl. She was born in West Palm Beach in 1916. She attended school there. She was in the first class of Palm Beach Junior College, and after she graduated from there, she went on to what was then FSCW in Tallahassee, Florida State College for Women, on a work-study scholarship, and graduated in home economics. She taught school in High Springs, in Boca Grande, and
Christina, your mother was nominated a Great Floridian, and when she became that, tell us about that.
Yes, the City of Deerfield Beach nominated my mother for Great Floridians 2000. This is a program through Historic Preservation, the Department of State, that she was chosen as a Great Floridian 2000. There'll be a plaque that's affixed to the Butler House, and there'll be a compilation of facts in a book that the state will publish. And this is for her contributions to the preservation of Broward history.
Margaret Briggs can tell us about her role in the recognition of our National Register properties. Margaret?
I guess I got started on getting some of these properties on the National Register when Emily Dietrich and I, whose children went to the elementary school, the 1926 school, and Chrissy was one of them, we felt as though that school, being 50 years old, would be qualified to be on the National Register. So I talked to Cooper Kirk, who was the historian down in Fort Lauderdale, and he said, "Oh, why do you think this particular building would be important?" And I said, "Well, it's 50 years old, and it has beautiful qualities because, as we can all tell, the Meisner influence down to Deerfield Beach from over in Boca Raton, and that particular school was built, designed something like the Meisner architecture in Boca Raton." So I sent a letter to Tallahassee to the Department of State and the archaeological and historic sites, and I didn't get any reply. I knew I'd sent it to the proper spot. Nothing happened, and I would say to people, "Do you ever hear from the state?" And this was 1987. "Do you ever hear from the state after you write a letter?" And they said, "Oh, well, the state's always slow. Don't worry about it." Well, finally, after a year, I called up there to Tallahassee, a friend of mine, and I said, "Do you know anything about our application?" And Vicki Welcher, whom some of you know, said, "Well, what about it?" And I said, "Well, I wrote a letter about a year ago." And she said, "Well, I don't believe I can find it." but we'll look. So they looked, and finally the young man I had been corresponding with had left his desk and gone to another job and just left everything behind. So they had to hunt and found my application in his desk. So that was the first one. So we started in '87.
Designed in 1926 by Thomas McLaughlin and completed in 1927, the Deerfield Beach Elementary School is not only significant for its role in the development of public education in Broward County, but its Mediterranean revival design is also representative of an architectural style indelibly associated with Florida. The two-story L-shaped masonry building features a 216-seat auditorium that supported school activities and community theater.
The school was started there in about 26 or 25, but it was not finished, and then 26 hurricane did some damage. People used the schoolhouse as a refuge during the 28 storm. And I went on to school there till I was in the 8th grade and went to Pompano. But like I say, Deerfield only went from about where the Pick and Pay grocery is, if some of you know that, it's on West Deerfield, and about 6th Avenue where the school is located. The people then built on the high ground because everything else during the fall of the year got underwater. And they didn't start farming west of there until State Road 810, which was another number at that time when they named it and built it. Then this land opened up in the west. Prior to that, they farmed over in the Cove sections and on south of there on what they call Robinson Road. Some of the Robinson Road is still there near the present middle school in Deerfield.
It was designed for both passenger and freight service in 1926 by Gustav A. Maas. A Mediterranean revival structure, the train depot is significant for its contribution to the economic development of Deerfield Beach. This one-story masonry building remains essentially unchanged except for minor interior alterations. During segregation, the waiting room and agent's office was separated into two facilities, each with its own waiting area, restrooms, and ticket window. In 1971, Amtrak took over passenger service, and since 1989, Tri-Rail has provided commuter service from the old Seaboard Airline Railway Station. James D. Butler was a member of the first school board of Broward County. He served as a Broward County Commissioner and a City Commissioner in the 1920s, and as Mayor of Deerfield in the mid-1930s. His wife, Alice, was a charter member of the Deerfield Woman's Club. In 1923, they built their home based on plans ordered from a woman's magazine. Today, the Butler House is the home of the Deerfield Beach Historical Society. A two-room building with hardwood floors of Dade County pine, the old schoolhouse was home to white students attending grades 1 through 8. Located just a stone's throw from the intersection of Dixie Highway and Hillsborough Boulevard, this architectural treasure remained in service only 6 short years, from 1920 until 1926, when it was closed and students attended a larger, more modern school. Over the years, it had served a variety of purposes, from City Hall and jail to the home of the city's planning department and municipal carpentry shop.
Scheduled to be torn down in the 70s to make room for a parking lot, 2 women stepped forward and fought for its preservation. And today it's one of 4 historic sites in Deerfield. And for that we thank Mrs. Richard Mowry and Mrs. Ralph Weisenberg. What compelled you to start the effort to start the school? What did you discover or learn as you began your quest to save this school? Mary?
Well, that was Joe Dietrich Wansenberg, and yes, we were young moms, and we were part of the Deerfield Beach Historical Society, and we both loved history and just really, really wanted to save that building. The city was ready to bulldoze it down, and the society got behind us, and we co-chaired just saving the building. And when we got inside, we found out the original floor was there, the blackboard frame was there, the wavy windows were there, and it was a most exciting time. Joe and I took our kids, we went down to Dania, we bought furnishings for it. Emily found things up in North Carolina. Margaret Briggs was part of it, the Strocks, Otis Tanner, everybody came together, and we had a small grant. That was the bicentennial year. And so we had a grant. We were able to match it with in-service goods and Dietrich Lumber Company. And we have pictures of our little children in that building, and now we have the next generation of small children in that building. So it's a big piece of history. That's where it all started, really, as Jack Butler's talked about. And so we were just really excited to do that. We